1980s featured political ideas and pop culture icons that are still influential to this day. To bring together the most important ones, we painted this mural. We took Michael Jackson's Thriller music video and placed the faces of 1980s icons over the faces of the video's backup dancers.
Where this scene takes place is in front of the Berlin Wall that encircled Berlin. The wall was put up on August 13, 1961, and it fell on November 9, 1989. The official reason for building the wall was to keep the Western fascists from coming into East Germany and disrupting the socialist state. However, the main reason for its construction was to keep people from defecting in large numbers from the east to the west. On November 9, 1989, the East Germany government decided that people could cross the wall after several weeks of civil unrest. East German spokesman Gunter Schabatsky made the following announcement.
Und deshalb haben wir uns dazu entschlossen.
Therefore, we have decided to introduce a bill today which allows every citizen to travel out of East Germany by way of the border crossing points. That night, excited crowds headed to the wall. Some people crossed freely into West Berlin, while others brought hammers and picks and began to chip away at the wall itself. As the Cold War ended, it was time to reunify East and West Germany, and the fall of Berlin helped accomplish this.
Celebrating the fall of the Berlin Wall are Ronald Reagan and Mikhail Gorbachev. Gorbachev is the one with the bald head in the middle of the mural, and Ronald Reagan is on the far right. Mikhail Gorbachev was the leader of the Soviet Union, holding the position of General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union from 1985 to 1991. Ronald Reagan was president of the U.S. for almost all of the 1980s, as his presidency went from January 1981 to January of 1989. Reagan campaigned championing supply-side economics, which is the economic theory which believes that tax cuts will encourage the business owners to invest that money that they saved or to spend it in a way to stimulate the economy and to create jobs, which will then end up being beneficial to everyone. He took office and ended up getting a 25% tax cut passed, the majority of which went to the upper income levels. This cut did end up bringing prosperity to the people, but the national debt went up in turn. Reagan popularized supply-side economics, and many conservatives today believe in it. Reagan was equally as influential on the foreign policy front. As stated earlier, the Berlin Wall had been up for over 20 years and divided the city of Berlin. One part was communist and the rest capitalist. Reagan delivered a speech on June 12, 1987, where he encouraged Gorbachev to
tear down this wall.
And it did go down 2 years later. Even though Reagan was out of office when the wall went down, he started the process, and Gorbachev finished it. This was the first step in the dissolution of the Soviet Union as well as the end of the Cold War. This changed the stage of world politics as the end of the Cold War eased some tensions that had previously been dangerously high for decades.
Imagine there's no heaven.
The 1980s was not only a decade of political significance, but also a time where many artists thrived. In our mural, we have featured the pop culture icons John Lennon, Madonna, Michael Jackson, Freddie Mercury, E.T., and Michael J. Fox. John Lennon on the far left was a well-established and beloved British rock musician. Lennon used his music to inspire hope and change through the generations and was sadly assassinated on December 8, 1980. Madonna is the woman with the flamboyant pink hair. Although she has continued to make music after the 80s, her career is perhaps at its height then. She used her music to empower women all around the globe. Michael Jackson is the man in the red outfit and the largest figure in our mural. He was a social icon of the 80s, similar to Madonna and Lennon, and he still is an infamous pop artist even though he has passed. Jackson was also named the King of Pop due to his great success. In the 1980s, Jackson saw his most success with the release of his album Thriller, which is still today the best-selling record of all time. Today, many artists have cited Michael Jackson as one of their influences, and his impact on music will likely be felt for years to come. Freddie Mercury is depicted at the top of our mural on the Berlin Wall. Although his career was not limited to just the 80s, he is still an influential icon of the decade. We have also included him because of his death from AIDS, a subtle representation of the AIDS epidemic that was going on through the decade. E.T. is the alien on the right of Michael Jackson. He is the namesake of the hit movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial. The movie was released in 1982 and the highest-grossing movie of the 80s, bringing in over $400 million. Lastly, we have Michael J. Fox, second from the left, in our mural. He is an American actor best known for his role as Marty McFly in the Back to the Future trilogy movies. The first two installations were released in 1985 and 1989, and together made about $325 million at the box office. Since his role in the Back to the Future movies, Fox has developed Parkinson's disease and devoted his life to helping others with the same condition. These 6 cultural icons are important because they were looked up to by the young adults and teens at the time. Additionally, their movies and music are still extremely popular today, both with their original fans as well as the younger generations that adore them the same.
Based off the actions that these politicians, actors, and musicians made, this helped us determine what artistic choices we would make that would represent our mural. Our mural, titled The Thrill of the 80s, has many key events from that decade. We decided to incorporate popular artists, actors, politicians, and political events from the 80s onto one of the scenes from the popular music video Thriller by Michael Jackson to help reflect on the important events that these people made that helped shape the 80s. We took the artistic choice by using both paint mixed with cutting out pictures and pasting them on top of the faces of the zombies. We used this to show that those weren't the original faces and to ensure that by first glance, such as walking down the hallway, people would notice those are not the zombies in the original music video and want to know more about it. We were hoping that by using a popular music video that people would notice the scene and spend more time wanting to see what else in the mural they may understand.
We were able to make different colors to show where the ground meets the wall and the wall meets the sky. We used this to make sure that all colors didn't clash and so that the mural would present itself as organized. We added a border that was Pac-Man themed that fit in with the 80s. We made the artistic choice of making Michael Jackson the biggest to show that he's the centerpiece while the others around him got smaller.
Ha 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 ha!